I want to show you how I'm gonna do the bunk beds. The bunk bed's legs are gonna be built into the framing. That way I don't waste on space already, because I'm already wasting with this framing instead of doing the plywood walls. So first bed is gonna sit on top of this piece, this stud, and I'm gonna screw it in like this. That way all that weight from the bed is being transferred to this stud, to this stud, to the floor. Nothing is hanging on the screws and relying on the screws to hold all the weight. It's just transferring through the stud. This basically this piece is a load-bearing stud. It's going to be a lot stronger that way than relying on screws or even joist hangers and stuff like that. So I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to do the same thing on the end over there. And I have them like 17 inch, almost 18 inches from the bottom plate. So this is going to give us room to put some drawers there, so the kids' clothes are in there, and then they come in here, a ladder. The second one is going to go up here. So basically from top of the stud to top of the ceiling, or from top of the bottom stud to the underside of the top bunk bed stud is 33 inches. That's gonna give them, you know, that you still have to add the mattresses, but it's gonna give them plenty of headroom there. We don't want them to feel cramped. And over here, where the drawers are, we're going to be able to add 2 or 3 rows of drawers. So there's going to be plenty of room for their clothes in there as well. I'm going to, once I add this, once we install this horizontal stud, then we're going to add another extender on top of it to go to the next bunk bed stud. So the next one lays on top of this one, so that whole weight is being transferred down all these studs to the floor. Now of course later on, once we have the long pieces here, I'm gonna figure out some method to connect pieces this way, and they're gonna be distributed in the way, so they're gonna have to rely on the screws holding them to these studs, but it's fine. You'll handle the weight. That weight is getting distributed. It's not just on one stud or on one cross piece. So I have the 2 screws, pocket holes in the bottom, and then 2 over here into this side one. So now I'm gonna work on the other side to make the other wall basically for the bunk beds. Now I have to be careful how I'm doing the framing, because on that end over there I have this door stud that goes all the way from top to bottom, and I have the bunk bed stud to the left of it. Now on this side over here, I will not be having a door stud going like this, and then I put the bunk bed stud on the inside. If I could add a stud and do that, but then I'm gonna have this step here that I have to work around and make it all pretty. I think it's better if I do a stud on the inside, basically like this. So this stud will be going all the way from bottom to the top, to the ceiling. And then I put the bunk bed studs on the outside. That way I put one bunk bed like this, and then I have another one going up to the next bed. Because I'm not gonna just do this and try to stack them like this. It's not stable. but I need one stud that go all the way from bottom to top plate. And I'm gonna do it on the inside. That way, when I do my wall, this is when I do my bed, the bed is gonna be flush on the front end. And I can then put some nice plywood or whatever there. Whereas if I do it like this, right, I'm gonna have this step here. I would put the plywood here, then I have this thing to work around. So that means that when I am to cut this bottom plate, I need to measure the distance from here to here. Yeah, from there to there. And then I have to have the bunk bed stud here and then the actual long stud here. So that's 32 3/4. 32 3/4. So this bottom plate should be 32 3/4 long. This bottom plate should be 32 3/4 long. I got the bottom plate cut to size, and so the length of the bunk bed between the studs is gonna be 64.5 inches from that stud to this one. I've already marked it here, so I can come in here and alright, I'm gonna add 3 screws here. Let me line this guy up. I'm already marked everything. Then one in the middle. There we go. So that should be 64.5 from the other stud. 64.5. 64.5. I want to mention that our kids are little, 3 and 5-year-olds. So that's why we are making the bunk beds only 64 inches long. Because it's going to be a long time until when they outgrow the bunk beds. And when the first one outgrows the bunk bed, we have a loft that is huge that they can move there and sleep there. We don't have room in the bus because it's only 30 feet long, bumper to bumper. We don't have room to make bunk beds any longer because that's taken away from the couch space. Alright, got this vertical stud cut, and I measured 64.5 from the other end. So that should be square with the floor too. So I'm just gonna screw it and see what happens. Gotta make sure I don't do it where I have wiring in the wall. 64.5. Yeah. One thing I'm doing is I'm making sure that I screw this stud into the same shiplap boards as the other stud over there, because I'm going to reinforce these shiplap boards with actual screws to the framing, because right now it's just brad nails and construction adhesive holding these boards, and I'm gonna hit them with some screws. That way they're held for sure. They're not gonna separate from framing, and which means the bunk bed will not separate. Maybe it's not needed, but I still want to do it. I mean, I do have this screw goes into the framing, this horizontal, and then the bottom one goes into the bottom plate, which goes into the subfloor. So on two ends it's supported into framing, just not in the middle. So, and now I'm screwing this 17 7/8 piece That's where it's gonna, the first bunk bed is gonna rest on. Now I'm adding the one on the other side. So now I have this, and that. Over here I have a 2x4 that's 69 inches and a quarter long. And that's what's going to be sitting over here for the bunk bed. That's what's going to support the cross pieces. So this is 2x4, holding my weight well, it's not bending. I was thinking about putting 2x3, but I went with 2x4 just to be safe. And now I have to add another one over here, but the problem is I have this gap. I should have really put this stud on the inside, so then when I put this one, it's flush with the wall and I can screw it into the wall, which is fine. I mean, I could just do it like this. 2x4 would be strong enough to hold the weight across, but it would be nice to have another piece behind so I can screw everything into each other and into the wall. Yeah, I'm gonna add a piece here anyway, because when I put the cross pieces, they're not gonna sit on top of the stud, so I don't want a gap behind. I want that to be filled in for the mattress to sit on. Since I know that the board will be screwed into this shiplap piece, I'm gonna strengthen its hold to the framing, since it only has brad nails and construction adhesive now, by adding some 1 inch and 5/8 screws. I know the framing is here because I have done it, all these other ones. Like that. There we go. Another stud is right here. That's solid. Oh yeah. Flush on each side. There we go. That's solid. That's looking good. So I'm thinking over here what options I have for the cross pieces. Right? That's gonna hold a mattress. I just realized because of the way I've done this, I have to make the top of the cross pieces flush with these 2x4s. So the mattress sits on top, because if I try to lower it, because I was going to lower it to save on the space so the mattress sinks in the framing, but then you would have all this gap here with no mattress on it. So I need to make it flush. Now before I do the cross pieces, I'm going to do these long ones for the upper bunk bed, you know, and then I'll do the cross pieces at the end for both of them. And I've marked over here where I was thinking I want to put, because that's a 35, the bottom, the top is at 35.5 from this stud. And so I would have basically, I would have a 32 inches of head space from the framing, not including the mattress. And then over here, this highest point, I would have 33, but that curves down, so it gives me some room there. So yeah, so I gotta measure, I gotta get this stud made. I have that at 32 inches. I got these 4 boards made, 32 inches tall. Pushing it down. And then I gotta repeat the same thing on the rest of the 3 sides. I got all 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I gotta add these cross pieces. I put the upper cross pieces. Now you see them, it's laying on this stud, which is laying on this, which is laying on this, which is down there to the ground. So all that weight of the whole bunk bed is being transferred to this load-bearing studs. Same thing up here in the front. For this top bunk, I'm gonna actually add a 2x4 in the middle, already marked where the middle is, and I'm gonna fasten it with the pocket hole screws and with this Gorilla Max Strength construction adhesive clear over here. And I need that because in this, above this bottom bunk, I'm gonna need a ceiling, and I'm gonna put the same tongue and groove cedar as the top, most likely. So I need a piece halfway down that is flush with this 2x4, so I can screw the ceiling in too. Because the rest of the boards, they're gonna be indented, and I want to make the ceiling like flush with the bottom of the boards. And I don't want to put the ceiling this way because it's going to be then perpendicular to the ceiling up there. I want it to be in the same direction. I'm also adding the 2x4s here on each end because I need something for the ceiling to get screwed into for the bottom bunk bed. I'm making sure this is all lined up. You see? So this one seems to be sticking out more. So I'm gonna push this a little bit this way. I'm gonna push that way. And then check the measurement here. A little bit more. Alright, that's better. So now that's good. At this point, now that this is done, you could just throw plywood over this and drill a bunch of holes in it for aeration. Or you can just do more cross pieces. And I think I'm just gonna over-engineer it and do the cross pieces of 2x3. I got these 2x2s. I screwed those in the boards, and then I put flat like these 2x3s across as the slats, and they're flush on the top here. And I also used the glue on this one, so that should hold the slats, and I'll also screw hole the slats into these. That's gonna be plenty. I used this one as a spacer, and I put this in here. Want to make sure that this bottom piece is flush. Each of these pieces, 2x2s, has 5 screws in it, and of course construction adhesive holding it. I'm adding now this piece of stud so it's flush with the bottom. because I'm gonna be putting something here over here for the kids to cover them up, maybe some plywood or something. Making the slats now out of 2x3s. I've screwed this one already. I'm screwing them from the bottom up with pocket holes because it's structurally stronger that way. I'm putting one all the way till the end because I'm gonna have some shiplap here, and so the mattress won't have much support on this stud. So I'm adding this one so if there is a pillow too, and mattress and pillow, so the mattress doesn't fall in the hole there on the edge. And then I'm using another 2x3 as a spacer. So now I have this 2x3. Okay, I'm gonna screw it like that and then remove this. So there's gonna be 2.5 inch gap between each one of them. So as you can see, this cross piece is being held by the screws into the framing here, as well as resting on top of this 2x2. Framing of the bunk bed is complete. There we go. I'm gonna have a separate video for, you know, the final trim and putting some plywood here. We'll figure out what we want there. Are we gonna have curtains or sliding doors for kids or something like that?